600 volts, produced not by a battery, not by a generator, not by any machine, but by flesh, by cells, by biology that has been running the same circuit. There is an animal alive today that generates more voltage than a standard wall socket, more than a cattle prod, more than a police taser, more than the electricity that powers the light bulb in your desk lamp. 600 volts, produced not by a battery, not by a generator, not by any machine, but by flesh, by cells, by biology that has been running the same circuit for 150 million years. The question is not whether this is real. The question is, how does a living body become a power plant? That answer will change the way you think about electricity forever. The electric eel, Electrophorus electricus, lives in the murky, oxygen-poor rivers and swamps of the Amazon and Orinoco basins in South America. The water it inhabits is so dark, so thick with sediment, that visibility is often measured in centimeters rather than meters. In that kind of darkness, eyes are almost useless. So the electric eel evolved a solution that seems at first glance like something out of science fiction. It generates its own electromagnetic field and uses it to see. But that is only the beginning of what this animal can do. Because the electric eel is not one thing, it is three things at once. It produces three entirely distinct types of electrical discharge, each serving a completely different biological function, each generated by a different organ system, all packed into a single body that can reach 2.5 meters in length and weigh up to 20 kilograms. To understand how this is possible, we need to go back to the fundamental building block of all biological electricity. We need to talk about the cell. Every living cell on Earth maintains an electrical voltage across its membrane. In your neurons, this voltage is roughly 70 millivolts, a tiny fraction of what powers a watch battery. But stack enough of these cells together, wire them correctly, and the mathematics changes completely. The electric eel has mastered this stacking problem more completely than any other organism on the planet. 80% of the electric eel's body is dedicated to electrical generation. That is not a metaphor. 80% of its total body volume, from just behind the head all the way to the tip of the tail, consists of three specialized electric organs: the main organ, the hunter's organ, and the sacs organ. Its vital organs, heart, lungs, reproductive system, are compressed into the front 20% of its body, near the head. Everything else is power. Each electric organ is made of modified muscle cells called electrocytes. These are remarkable structures, flat disc-shaped cells that have essentially abandoned their original function as muscle and repurposed themselves entirely for electrical generation. Each electrocyte generates roughly 150 millivolts of potential difference, about the same as a biological AA battery. One cell, 150 millivolts. But the electric eel doesn't have one electrocyte. It has 6,000 of them stacked in a column, and it has hundreds of these columns running in parallel along the length of its body. When the eel fires, all 6,000 electrocytes in a column activate simultaneously, triggered by a specialized motor nerve center in the brainstem. The voltages stack in series, exactly like batteries wired end to end in a flashlight. 2 milliseconds, that is faster than the blink of a human eye, faster than a camera shutter, fast enough to paralyze the nervous system of a fish before that fish even registers that something has happened. This is not a defense mechanism, this is precision hunting technology. Here is what makes the electric eel's system truly extraordinary. It doesn't produce just one type of discharge, it produces three, each calibrated for a different purpose. The first type is the low-voltage pulse, a gentle, continuous emission of less than 10 volts produced by the sacs organ at the tail. This is the eel's sensory system, its electromagnetic vision. The field it generates extends outward in an egg-shaped bubble around the body. Any object that distorts this field is detected instantly, providing the eel with a complete three-dimensional map of its surroundings in total darkness. In a world with no light, this is sight. The second type is the high-voltage doublet, two rapid pulses fired in quick succession at full power. Researchers at Vanderbilt University made a startling discovery about this discharge in 2014. It doesn't just stun prey, it remotely hijacks the prey's own motor neurons. When the doublet hits a nearby fish, it causes all of that fish's muscles to contract simultaneously, a full-body convulsion that lasts a fraction of a second. This does two things. It reveals the location of hidden prey that was camouflaged or buried in sediment. The involuntary twitch betrays the hiding spot, and it briefly immobilizes the prey before the eel strikes. This is not brute force, this is remote neuroscience. The eel has independently discovered how to override the nervous system of another animal, the same principle used by medical devices like defibrillators and nerve stimulators, using nothing but electric fields. The third type is the high-voltage volley, a sustained burst of up to 400 pulses per second at maximum power, used for prey capture and predator defense. During a volley, researchers have observed the eel performing a behavior that maximizes electrical output with remarkable geometric logic. It curls its body into a tight U-shape, sandwiching the prey between the positive pole near its head and the negative pole near its tail. This doubles the effective voltage delivered to the target. The eel has, independently, discovered the physics of circuit design. In 1800, the Italian physicist Alessandro Volta invented the first battery, inspired, he wrote in his own letters, by the work of Luigi Galvani, who had discovered that electricity could be conducted through biological tissue by experimenting with frog legs. What neither man knew at the time was that the electric eel had already solved the same engineering problem and had been running a more powerful version of it for 150 million years. Today, the electrocyte, the fundamental cell of the electric eel's organ, is one of the most intensely studied cells in all of biomedical research, because it turns out that understanding how evolution wired a biological battery has direct applications for some of the most pressing problems in modern medicine and engineering. In 2017, a team at the University of Michigan published a landmark paper in Nature. They had successfully created a soft, flexible, biological power source inspired directly by the electric eel's stacking architecture, using hydrogel sheets of ion gradient generating cells. The device produced voltages comparable to the eel, using entirely biocompatible materials. The implication was immediate. Implantable medical devices, pacemakers, neurostimulators, insulin pumps that are powered not by lithium batteries requiring surgical replacement, but by the patient's own body chemistry. The eel didn't just evolve a weapon, it evolved a blueprint that human bioengineers are now racing to replicate, a blueprint for harvesting energy from the electrochemical gradients that every living cell on Earth already produces, all the time, simply by being alive. Every cell in your body right now is generating a small electrical potential. The eel figured out how to add them together. We are only now figuring out how to use the same trick. There is a particular irony in the story of the electric eel. For centuries, it was regarded primarily as a curiosity, a danger to wade into rivers, a novelty for natural history cabinets, an exotic footnote in books about South American wildlife, something to be feared and avoided, but not particularly understood. And then, slowly, as the tools of biology and physics grew more precise, we began to realize what we had been walking past. We had been walking past one of the most elegant electrical engineering solutions in the history of life on Earth. A system that produces high voltage without wires, that transmits power without insulation, that recalibrates its output in real time across 3 distinct operational modes in response to sensory information processed faster than conscious thought. a system that heals itself when damaged, runs indefinitely without maintenance, and is powered entirely by the food the animal eats. We have spent the last 2 centuries building power grids, batteries, and electronic circuits by solving problems from first principles, starting from scratch, making mistakes, discovering laws that nature had already encoded into living tissue before the first human ever drew breath. The electric eel is not a monster, it is not a danger, it is a library. One that we are only just beginning to learn how to read. If this episode made you look at the animal kingdom differently, share it with someone who still thinks evolution is random. Next episode, we go deeper into the sensory unknown. The mantis shrimp, an animal that sees 16 types of color receptors compared to the human 3, and perceives dimensions of light we don't even have words for yet. What does the world look like when you can see what no human eye ever could? Stay curious.